You replay that embarrassing moment from 3 years ago, even after you've tried everything to forget it. What if you could choose which thoughts stay and which ones disappear in seconds? In this video, I'll share 7 neuroscience-backed techniques used by Olympic athletes and Navy SEALs that will help you take control of your mind before your thoughts spiral out of control. I discovered these techniques when I was stuck in a cycle of overthinking that cost me sleep, relationships, and peace of mind. Turns out, neuroscientists at Stanford University found that the average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day, and most of us have zero control over which ones dominate our attention. The problem is, most people think they are their thoughts, when in reality, thoughts are just mental events passing through. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to observe, redirect, and control your thoughts like a trained mental athlete. Let's dive in. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and most people have never heard this before. Technique number 1, the 9-0-second rule. The 9-0-second rule is based on neuroscience research, showing that an emotion triggered by a thought only lasts about 90 seconds in your body, unless you keep re-triggering it. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a Harvard-trained brain scientist, discovered this after studying her own stroke. When a negative thought appears, your body releases stress chemicals, but those chemicals naturally flush out within a minute and a half if you don't add fuel to the fire. This works because your limbic system, the emotional center of your brain, responds to threats quickly but briefly. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health shows that when you notice a thought without engaging it, the emotional charge dissipates naturally. Your amygdala fires, cortisol spikes, but then your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in to restore balance. The problem? Most people keep replaying the thought, which restarts the 90-second cycle over and over, creating what feels like constant anxiety or anger that lasts hours or even days. First, when a negative thought appears, acknowledge it by saying internally, "I'm having the thought that." This creates distance between you and the thought. Second, set a mental timer or watch the clock for 90 seconds. During this time, focus only on the physical sensations in your body: tight chest, racing heart, shallow breathing, without adding more thoughts. Third, breathe slowly and watch the intensity decrease naturally. Don't fight it, don't judge it, just observe. For instance, instead of thinking, "Why do I always mess things up?" and spiraling, try, "I'm having the thought that I messed up," and then sit with the feeling for 90 seconds. Most people make the mistake of immediately trying to fix or solve the thought, which actually strengthens its grip. But that's just the beginning. This next technique is what elite performers use before competitions. Technique number 2, thought labeling, also known as the observer's trick. This next one is crucial, and it's used by everyone from Buddhist monks to Navy SEALs. Thought labeling is the practice of mentally tagging your thoughts as they appear, like sorting mail into categories. Instead of getting swept away by a thought, you simply notice it and label it: worrying, planning, remembering, judging, fantasizing. It sounds simple, but this tiny act creates what psychologists call cognitive distance, the space between you as the observer and the thoughts you're observing. Research from the University of California, Los Angeles shows that labeling emotions and thoughts activates your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain, while simultaneously reducing activity in the amygdala, your fear center. This is called effect labeling, and brain scans reveal it literally calms your emotional response. Dr. Matthew Lieberman's research demonstrates that putting feelings into words makes them less intense. When you label a thought, you stop identifying with it. You're no longer someone who's anxious. You're someone noticing anxious thoughts, which is a completely different psychological position. This shift alone reduces the thought's power by up to 50%. First, practice this for just 2 minutes daily. Sit quietly and notice whatever thoughts arise. Don't try to change them. Just label them. That's a worry thought. That's a planning thought. That's a judgment. Second, keep labels simple and neutral. Avoid adding emotion or judgment to the labels themselves. Don't say stupid worry or bad thought. Just worry or thought. Third, when you catch yourself spiraling during the day, pause and label what's happening. I'm worrying about the future, or I'm replaying the past. For example, instead of drowning in thoughts about an upcoming presentation and thinking, I'm going to fail, try, I'm having worry thoughts about the presentation. Common mistake. People try to label and solve simultaneously. Just label, that's the whole technique. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful. A technique that literally rewires your brain. Technique number 3, the thought replacement protocol. Most people don't know this, but you can't actually stop thinking about something, but you can replace it. The thought replacement protocol is based on a psychological principle called thought substitution. Your brain can only hold one dominant thought at a time in working memory. Instead of fighting to suppress a negative thought, which research shows actually makes it stronger, you intentionally replace it with a predetermined positive or neutral thought. This isn't toxic positivity or denial. It's strategic mental redirection, using your brain's natural limitations. Daniel Wegner's famous white bear experiments at Harvard proved that trying not to think about something makes you think about it more. This is called ironic process theory, or thought suppression rebound. When you tell yourself, don't think about failing, your brain has to think about failing to know what to avoid. But replacement works differently. Research from Penn State University shows that when you actively engage your mind with an alternative thought, the unwanted thought has nowhere to anchor. Your prefrontal cortex can maintain focus on only one narrative at a time. Elite athletes use this constantly. When a negative thought appears mid-competition, they immediately replace it with a rehearsed mantra or visualization. The key is having your replacement thought ready before you need it. First, identify your 3 most common negative thought patterns. Maybe it's, I'm not good enough, I always mess up, or people are judging me. Write them down. Second, create specific replacement thoughts that are believable and factual. Don't go from I'm worthless to I'm perfect. That won't work because your brain rejects obvious lies. Instead, try, I'm learning and improving, or I've succeeded before, and I can again. Third, practice the switch. When the negative thought appears, don't argue with it. Don't analyze it. Simply say the replacement thought out loud or in your mind, and immediately redirect your attention to something physical. Your breath, your hands, the ground beneath your feet. For instance, when I'm not ready for this appears, replace it instantly with I'm as prepared as I can be right now. Then focus on your breathing. The mistake people make is trying to convince themselves the negative thought is wrong. Don't debate it, just replace it. But what if you're dealing with obsessive thoughts that just won't quit? This next technique is specifically for that. Technique number 4, the intrusive thought paradox. This one sounds completely backwards, but it's backed by decades of research in treating OCD and anxiety disorders. The intrusive thought paradox involves doing the exact opposite of what your instinct tells you. Instead of fighting intrusive thoughts, you intentionally invite them in and examine them with curiosity. When that random disturbing thought pops up, what if I said something terrible right now? Or what if I'm a bad person? Instead of panicking and trying to push it away, you lean in and say, okay, let's look at this thought. Tell me more. This seems crazy, but it's the foundation of exposure and response prevention therapy, the gold standard for treating intrusive thoughts. Dr. Stephen Hayes, founder of acceptance and commitment therapy, explains that psychological suffering comes not from having thoughts, but from our relationship with thoughts. When you fear a thought, your brain tags it as dangerous, which activates your threat response system, which makes the thought appear more often. This creates a vicious cycle. Research from Boston University shows that when you practice exposure to feared thoughts, meaning you allow them without trying to neutralize or escape them, the anxiety response diminishes through a process called habituation. Your brain learns, oh, this thought appeared and nothing bad happened. The amygdala stops firing alarm bells. The thought loses its emotional charge. It becomes just mental noise, like background radio static. First, when an intrusive thought appears, resist your first instinct to push it away or rationalize it. Instead, say to yourself, "This is just an intrusive thought. It's not real, it's not me, and it doesn't mean anything." Second, practice urge surfing. Imagine the discomfort of the thought as a wave. Don't fight the wave, ride it. Notice where you feel it in your body. Notice it peak, and notice it naturally subside. Third, set a timer for 2 minutes and intentionally think the thought repeatedly. Write it down. Say it out loud if you're alone. What you'll discover is that the thought becomes boring. Its power comes from avoidance. For example, if you have the thought, "What if I hurt someone?" A common intrusive thought that means nothing. Instead of spiraling into "Am I a psychopath?" sit with it. That's an intrusive thought about harm. It's uncomfortable, but it's just a thought. Then let it sit there. The biggest mistake is performing mental rituals to prove the thought isn't true. Don't seek reassurance. Just let it exist. Now, here's a technique that gives you control in real time during your busiest moments. Technique number 5, the 5. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. This next one is what therapists teach for panic attacks, but it works for any moment your thoughts are spiraling. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method is a sensory awareness technique that yanks your attention away from internal mental chaos and anchors it to external reality. When you're caught in a thought storm, you deliberately engage your 5 senses. Identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This forces your brain to shift from the default mode network, where rumination happens, to the sensory processing network, which is grounded in the present moment. Neuroscience research from Yale University shows that rumination and worry primarily occur in the brain's default mode network, which is active when you're not focused on the outside world. This network is responsible for self-referential thinking, thinking about yourself, your past, your future. When you're stuck in your head, this network dominates. But when you engage your senses, you activate different brain regions: the visual cortex, auditory cortex, and somatosensory cortex. These regions can't operate at full capacity at the same time as the rumination network. Dr. Judson Brewer's research on mindfulness shows that grounding techniques create what he calls a gear shift in the brain, moving you from anxious self-focused thought to present moment awareness. This isn't distraction. It's deliberate attentional control. First, memorize the sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you notice your thoughts spiraling, pause wherever you are and start the countdown. Second, be specific and deliberate. For the 5 things you see, don't just glance around. Really look. I see a blue water bottle with condensation. I see a crack K in the ceiling. I see my hand with lines on the palm. Describe them mentally in detail. For the 4 things you can touch, physically touch them. The texture of your jeans, the coolness of a tabletop, the smooth surface of your phone, the weight of your shoes on your feet. Third, go slowly. This isn't a race. Each sense should take 1.530 seconds. The entire exercise takes about 2 to 3 minutes. For instance, if you're overwhelmed before a meeting, don't just think, "I need to calm down." Run through the sequence right there in your chair. Common mistake: rushing through it or doing it half-heartedly. Your brain needs the detailed sensory input to make the switch. But wait, there's one more technique that's especially powerful for long-term thought control. Technique number 6, the mental reset habit. Most people don't realize that your default thoughts are just habits, and habits can be rewired. The mental reset habit involves catching automatic negative thoughts and immediately redirecting your focus to a predetermined productive thought or action. This isn't the same as thought replacement. This is about building new neural pathways through repetition. Every time a specific trigger happens and a negative thought appears, You perform the same redirect every single time. Over weeks and months, your brain learns the new pattern and the old thought loses its automatic nature. Neuroscientist Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz's research on neuroplasticity demonstrates that you can literally rewire your brain through consistent mental practices. His work with OCD patients showed that by repeatedly redirecting thoughts, the brain creates new neural pathways and weakens old ones. This is called self-directed neuroplasticity. Every thought pattern, even negative ones, is maintained by neural connections that fire together repeatedly. The famous neuroscience principle, neurons that fire together, wire together. But the opposite is also true. Neurons that stop firing together, stop wiring together. When you stop feeding a thought pattern and consistently redirect to a new one, the old pathway atrophies like an unused muscle. Research from University College London found it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit, including mental habits. First, identify one specific trigger thought combination you want to change. Maybe when you wake up, your first thought is dread about the day. Or when you see a certain person, you think, they don't like me. Pick one to start. Second, choose your redirect action. It needs to be simple and physical. Take 3 deep breaths, squeeze your fist and release, or think one specific phrase while looking at your hands. The physical component is crucial because it engages different brain regions. Third, every single time the trigger happens and the thought appears, do your redirect within 5 seconds. Don't negotiate, don't analyze, catch it, redact. For example, if your trigger is checking email and your automatic thought is, something bad happened, your redirect could be, notice the thought, take 3 breaths, and then say internally, I'm prepared to handle whatever is here. Do this every time for 2 months. The mistake people make is trying to change 10 thought patterns at once. Focus on one until it's automatic, then add another. Finally, let's talk about the meta skill that makes all of these techniques more powerful. Technique number 7, mindfulness meditation, also known as the mind gym. This last one is the foundation that makes everything else easier. It's like training wheels for your attention. Mindfulness meditation is the practice of sitting quietly and observing your thoughts without attachment, judgment, or reaction. You don't try to clear your mind or stop thinking. That's impossible. Instead, you watch thoughts appear and disappear like clouds in the sky, always returning your attention to your breath or body when you drift away. Even just 5 to 10 minutes daily creates measurable changes in how you relate to thoughts throughout the entire day. This isn't spiritual woo-woo, it's neuroscience. Dr. Sarah Lazar's research at Harvard Medical School used brain imaging to show that just 8 weeks of daily meditation physically changes your brain structure. The prefrontal cortex thickens, improving attention and emotional regulation. The amygdala shrinks, reducing stress reactivity. Studies from Johns Hopkins found that meditation is as effective as antidepressants for treating anxiety and depression in many people. But here's what's most important. Meditation is practice for real life. When you sit and watch thoughts without engaging them, you're training the exact skill you need when negative thoughts appear during your day. Think of it like lifting weights. You don't lift weights just to be strong in the gym. You lift weights so you're strong when you need to move furniture or carry groceries. Meditation is mental strength training. The more you practice observing thoughts without reacting in meditation, the easier it becomes to do it when it actually matters. First, start absurdly small. Don't aim for 30 minutes. Start with 3 minutes. Set a timer. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. When a thought appears, and it will within seconds, just notice it. Thought, then return to the breath. That's the whole practice. Second, don't judge yourself when your mind wanders. It will wander 100 times in 3 minutes. That's not failure. That's the practice. Each time you notice and return is like a mental rep at the gym. You're building the muscle. Third, do it at the same time daily. Consistency matters more than duration. 3 minutes every morning for a month creates more change than one 30-minute session. For instance, commit to meditating right after you brush your teeth in the morning. Use an existing habit as an anchor. The biggest mistakes: expecting to feel peaceful immediately and quitting when your mind stays busy. Your mind is supposed to be busy. You're learning to observe that busyness without being swept away by it. Let's quickly review what we covered today. Number 1, the 9-0 rule. Let emotions naturally pass without re-triggering them. Number 2, thought labeling. Create distance by naming thoughts as they appear. Number 3, the thought replacement protocol. Substitute negative thoughts with predetermined alternatives. Number 4, the intrusive thought paradox. Lean into uncomfortable thoughts to strip their power. Number 5, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. Anchor yourself in the present, using your senses. Number 6, the mental redirect habit. Rewire your brain through consistent pattern interruption. Number 7, mindfulness, meditation. Train your attention muscle through daily practice. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You're the observer of your thoughts. The only difference between someone who's controlled by their mind and someone who controls their mind is this: one person believes every thought that appears, and the other knows thoughts are just mental events that can be managed. You have everything you need to start taking control today. Your thoughts don't define you. Your response to them does. Don't wait until anxiety becomes unbearable or until overthinking costs you another opportunity. Start with just one technique from this video. I recommend starting with the 9-0 rule, or thought labeling, since they're the easiest to implement immediately. Practice it for 1 week and watch how your relationship with your thoughts transforms. I promise you, 30 days from now, you'll look back at this moment and thank yourself for taking control. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. It helps more people learn these life-changing techniques. Subscribe for more neuroscience-based, self-improvement content that actually works. Drop a comment telling me which technique resonated most with you, or share your own thought control strategies. And if you want to learn how to break bad habits permanently, check out that video next. It pairs perfectly with what we covered today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.